The ship's engines hummed quietly as Commander John Miller looked out at the vast space station ahead. It was nothing like human designs, all curves and flowing shapes, like a giant sea creature frozen in space. The lights from its surface sparkled against the darkness, marking the central hub of the Galactic Confederation. John felt his heart beat faster. After centuries of wondering if they were alone in the universe, humanity finally had its answer. "Nervous?" Ambassador Lisa Wright asked, standing beside him on the bridge. John nodded. "A little. Hard not to be. We're the first humans most of these aliens will ever see." Lisa straightened her blue diplomatic uniform and checked her reflection in the polished surface of a nearby console. Her blonde hair was pulled back tightly, her expression practiced and pleasant. "Just remember the protocols. We represent Earth now. All of Earth." The communication system chimed. A voice that sounded like stones grinding together spoke in strangely accented English. "Earth vessel Pathfinder, you are cleared to dock at Port 17. Proceed with caution and follow the guidance lights." John acknowledged the instruction and guided their ship forward. The docking procedure was straightforward despite the alien technology. Humans were good at adapting. They always had been. When the airlock opened, John expected some kind of welcoming party. Instead, 4 tall, thin aliens with pale blue skin waited with what looked very much like weapons. They weren't pointed at the humans, but they weren't holstered either. "I am Zell Terran," the tallest of them said. "Security Chief. You will follow me to the council chamber." No handshake, no welcome to the Confederation, just cold instructions. John and Lisa exchanged glances but said nothing. They followed the aliens through curved hallways where beings of all shapes and sizes moved about. Some looked almost human, others defied description. Many stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. "They're looking at us like we're dangerous animals," Lisa whispered. John noticed it too. The other aliens gave them a wide berth. Some even changed direction to avoid passing close to them. The council chamber was a large round room with tiered seating. At least 30 different species sat in semicircles facing a central platform. John and Lisa were led to this platform and left standing there while the room filled with whispers and clicks and other sounds that must have been alien languages. A large being with green-gold scales and multiple eyes floated down to address them. "I am Council Leader Zixvorn. We welcome Earth's representatives to the Galactic Confederation Central Hub." The words were correct, but the tone was cold. Lisa stepped forward with a practiced smile. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, we thank you for this historic meeting. Humanity is honored to join the galactic community and looks forward to peaceful exchange of—" "You misunderstand your position," Zixvorn interrupted. "You are not here to join as equals. You are here to receive the Council's decisions regarding Earth's status and restrictions." The chamber went quiet. John felt his face grow hot, but years of military discipline kept his expression neutral. Lisa hesitated only for a second before asking, "Restrictions? We've come in peace. We seek only friendship and knowledge." A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed Earth, spinning slowly. Data appeared next to it: atmospheric composition, gravity, radiation levels, temperature ranges, and more. "Your planet has been classified as a Class 9 death world," announced another council member, a being with tentacles and glowing spots, one of only 17 such worlds to produce sentient life in our recorded history. John frowned. "Death world? Our planet is beautiful and full of life." This caused a ripple of what must have been laughter around the chamber. Zixvorn's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Beautiful? Your oceans are filled with corrosive salt. Your atmosphere contains reactive oxygen that would damage the breathing systems of most sentient species. Your gravity would crush many council races. Your world experiences extreme temperature variations, constant natural disasters, and radiation from your yellow sun that would harm most of us. And that is before we consider your planet's biological hazards, the predators, the diseases, the poisonous plants." Lisa started to protest, but Zixvorn continued. "Species that evolve on such worlds develop concerning traits. You are physically durable in ways most sentient beings are not. Your bodies can process toxins that would kill others. You heal rapidly from injuries. Your endurance is troubling. A new image appeared, showing humans in various activities. A boxing match, soldiers in combat training, a marathon runner. Your entertainment glorifies conflict. Your history is filled with warfare. Your bodies are built to withstand conditions that would kill most sentient life. Zixvorn floated closer. You are simply too dangerous to be given free access to the galaxy. John stepped forward. With respect, Council Leader, humanity has overcome much of its violent past. We've achieved global cooperation. Our mission here is peaceful. Perhaps, but the Council has made its decision. Zixvorn's voice became formal. Earth will be quarantined. You may not expand beyond your solar system. Technology transfer will be strictly limited. Confederation observers will monitor your compliance. This is not negotiable. Lisa's diplomatic training failed her for a moment. You can't just, we can. We are responsible for galactic stability and peace. Deathworld species have disturbed that peace before. Another council member, small and covered in fur, spoke up. Consider yourselves fortunate. The last Class 9 species discovered was deemed too dangerous for even limited contact. Their world was sterilized. A cold silence fell over the room. The threat was clear. These restrictions will be detailed in full. Zixvorn continued, seemingly unbothered by the implications of what had just been said. You will return to Earth with them. A monitoring station will be established at the edge of your solar system. Attempt to violate these restrictions, and harsher measures will follow. John felt Lisa's hand grip his arm tightly. Her fingers trembled. Slightly, but her voice was steady when she spoke. We understand the Council's concerns, but request time to demonstrate that humanity can be a valuable, peaceful member of the galactic community. Zixvorn made a gesture that might have been dismissive. You will have time. Decades, centuries perhaps if you behave. Prove yourselves, and the restrictions may be adjusted. Until then, you remain quarantined. As they were escorted back to their ship, neither John nor Lisa spoke. The aliens they passed still gave them a wide berth, some showing what had to be fear or disgust. Back on the Pathfinder, as they undocked from the station, Lisa finally broke the silence. They're afraid of us. John nodded slowly, watching the alien station grow smaller through the viewport. They should be. Lisa looked at him sharply. Not because we're violent, he clarified. Because we survive. That's what they're really afraid of. We come from a world that should have killed us. By their standards, instead it made us stronger. Lisa stared out at the stars. What do we tell Earth? The truth. That the galaxy isn't what we hoped. That we have a long road ahead. John's jaw tightened. And that we need to be ready, in case they decide we're too dangerous to live after all. As the Pathfinder engaged its engines for the long journey home, both humans were quiet, thinking about the world they had to protect and the hostile galaxy that awaited them. Earth had survived everything nature had thrown at it for billions of years. Its people had endured ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. They would endure this too, and maybe, someday, the galaxy would learn that humans didn't need to play fair when their survival was at stake. 20 years passed since that first contact. Earth changed in that time. The shock of knowing they were not alone in the universe was followed by anger at the restrictions placed upon them. But humans were nothing if not adaptable. Director Susan Powell looked out the window of her office in the United Earth Government headquarters. The view of New Geneva was impressive. Gleaming towers and green spaces, with air cars moving between buildings. Earth had made the best of its isolation. But it wasn't enough. A soft chime announced the arrival of her appointment. The door slid open and Kevin Martinez walked in. As Earth's chief negotiator with the Confederation for the past 15 years, his face showed the strain of fighting constant diplomatic battles. You look tired, Kevin, Susan said, gesturing to a chair. Kevin sat down heavily. Another day, another denial. The Confederation Council rejected our request to establish a colony on Titan. They say Saturn's moons remain off-limits until we've shown another century of appropriate behavior. Susan's lips tightened. Appropriate behavior. As if we're children. Children, with sharp teeth in their eyes. Kevin placed a data tablet on her desk. The restrictions aren't changing. If anything, they're getting worse. The Confederation monitors our development so closely that we can barely breathe without permission. Susan picked up the tablet and scrolled through the report. The list of denied requests grew longer each year. No expansion beyond Mars. Limited spacecraft technology. No access to faster-than-light travel. Restricted trade with only 3 of the least important Confederation species. And how are our other initiatives progressing? She asked quietly, even though her office was swept, for listening devices hourly. Kevin smiled for the first time since entering. That's my good news. Dr. Carter and Dr. Wu are ready to show you their progress, and Colonel Morgan has something interesting as well. Susan nodded. Take me to them. They traveled deep beneath the headquarters building, passing through 3 security checkpoints. The Fair Play Initiative facility was Earth's most secret project, and its greatest hope. Dr. Alan Carter met them in his lab. A tall man with tired eyes but an excited smile. He had been working on this project since the beginning. Next to him stood Dr. Nancy Wu, shorter but with the same intense energy. Director, we've done it, Dr. Carter said without preamble. He pointed to what looked like a small metal ball on a pedestal. This device creates a localized gravity field using principles completely different from Confederation technology. Dr. Wu stepped forward. We studied their ships when they visited. They use quantum manipulation to control gravity. This uses electromagnetic field compression. Primitive by their standards, but powerful in its own way. And completely legal under their restrictions, Kevin added. They banned us from using their technology. They never thought we'd develop our own path to the same result. Susan approached the device. Does it work? Dr. Carter nodded eagerly. Watch. He tapped a control panel. The metal ball rose from the pedestal and hovered in the air. Then it began to move in complex patterns. We can lift 20 tons with the device twice this size, Dr. Wu said. Give us another year, and we'll have the principles behind their faster-than-light drives. Susan felt hope for the first time in months. Excellent work, both of you. She turned to Kevin. You mentioned Colonel Morgan has news? They found Patricia Morgan in a different section of the facility. The military strategist stood before a wall of screens, each showing different alien species. She was a compact woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Director Powell, she nodded in greeting. We've completed our analysis of 17 key Confederation species, physiological weaknesses, psychological pressure points, social vulnerabilities, all documented. Susan raised an eyebrow. From diplomatic exchanges, I thought they were careful about what they showed us. Colonel Morgan's smile was cold. They were, but they underestimate human observation skills. Their inspectors visit Earth regularly, and each one reveals something without realizing it. She pointed to a screen showing a tall, thin alien. The Volari. Their hearing range extends far beyond ours, making them excellent communicators. But specific low-frequency sounds cause them physical pain. Their ships would be vulnerable to sonic weapons. She moved to another screen. The Krell. Physically strong, but their eyes can't process rapid light pattern changes. Flash weapons would blind them instantly. Susan studied the screens. This is all defensive information, correct? We're not planning first strikes. Of course not, Colonel Morgan replied. But if they ever decide we're too dangerous to live after all, we'll be ready. They restrict us because they fear what we might become. They've never considered what we already are. The colonel pressed a button, and the screens changed to show footage of Confederation inspectors visiting Earth facilities. They think we're cooperating fully. They have no idea we're studying them as carefully as they study us. Kevin cleared his throat. There's one more thing you should see today, Director. Their final stop was a hangar bay. Inside was a spacecraft unlike any Susan had seen before. Sleek and dark, It seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Our first true stealth ship, Kevin explained. No Confederation technology, just clever use of materials and design. It can approach their monitoring stations without being detected. Susan walked around the ship slowly. Have we tested it? 3 times, Kevin said. We've sent it past the edge of our solar system and back. Their monitors never detected it. Susan placed her hand on the ship's cool surface. 20 years of playing by the Confederation's rules had taught humanity patience. 20 years of restrictions had forced them to innovate in ways they might never have considered otherwise. We're not ready yet, she said finally. We still need time. But when the day comes that we need to protect ourselves, we'll have options they never imagined. As they left the facility, Susan thought about the future. Humanity had always excelled when backed into a corner. The Confederation thought they were containing a threat. In reality, they were creating one. Keep the projects moving forward, she told Kevin as they returned to the surface. But maintain our diplomatic efforts too. I want the Confederation to keep believing we're the obedient, restricted species they think we are. Kevin nodded. The Confederation inspector is due next week. We'll show them exactly what they expect to see. A civilization obediently staying within its boundaries. Susan looked up at the sky where stars were just becoming visible in the evening light. Somewhere up there, the Confederation believed they had humanity safely contained. They've never really understood us, she said softly. When humans can't go through a door, we don't just give up. We find a window. Or we build our own door. Kevin smiled. Or we tear down the whole wall. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Susan replied. But they both knew it might. The galaxy had classified humans as dangerous Deathworlders and treated them accordingly. Someday the galaxy might learn just how right they were. The Mars colony shimmered under its protective domes as the red dust storm raged outside. Inside the main habitat, people went about their lives normally. Children attended school, workers managed the air systems, and farmers tended the hydroponic gardens. It was a normal day until the alarms began to scream. Frank Johnson was in the security center when the first warnings flashed across his screens. As Earth's top intelligence officer on Mars, he had trained for this moment but hoped it would never come. Unidentified ships approaching from the outer system, his assistant reported. Not Earth vessels. Not Confederation monitoring ships either. Frank leaned forward, eyes fixed on the screens. How many? 7. Small attack craft by the look of them. Frank's mind raced. The Confederation had promised protection as part of the restriction agreement. But would they respond in time? Or at all? Send the emergency signal to Earth and the Confederation monitoring station. Activate colony defense protocols. His voice was calm despite the fear churning in his stomach. The message would take minutes to reach Earth. The Confederation station was closer, but might choose not to intervene. Mars was on its own. The first explosions rocked the outer dome sections. People screamed and ran for the inner shelters. Frank watched in horror as security camera feeds showed figures entering through the breaches, reptilian aliens in combat armor. He recognized them from intelligence briefings. Saurak Imperium, a faction within the Confederation known for aggressive expansion. They're targeting the water processing center and power systems. His assistant reported, voice shaking. Frank made a decision. Activate defense system beta. But sir, the Confederation restrictions, do it now. Hidden panels slid open in the colony's walls and ceilings. Defense turrets emerged, weapons Earth had developed in secret and installed during routine maintenance work. They were basic by Confederation standards but effective. The turrets fired, dropping several invaders, but the Saurak kept coming. Their weapons were more advanced, burning through the colony's internal walls. Colony security forces fought back with restricted weapons, but they were outmatched. Frank opened a secure channel to Earth. Mars colony under attack. Saurak forces, requesting immediate assistance. The reply came faster than he expected. Director Powell's face appeared on his screen. Help is coming, Frank. Hold out for 30 minutes. Frank looked at the chaos spreading through the colony. We may not have 30 minutes. 3 hours later, Frank stood in what remained of the colony's main control room. The attack had been repelled, but at terrible cost. 217 colonists dead, critical systems damaged, one dome completely destroyed. The Earth defense ships had arrived in just 28 minutes, impossibly fast given the distance and the restrictions on Earth's propulsion technology. They had driven off the Saurak vessels with surprising effectiveness, using weapons that shouldn't have existed under Confederation rules. Now Frank watched as Director Powell herself stepped out of a shuttle, accompanied by Kevin Martinez and a medical team. Her face was grim as she surveyed the damage. "How bad?" she asked. "We lost Dome 3 completely." "Families, Frank," he replied, his voice hollow. "Children." Susan's face hardened. "And the Confederation response?" "They sent one observer ship. It arrived 10 minutes ago, 2 hours after the T-year attack ended. They're calling it an unfortunate incident and promising to file a complaint with the Saurak representatives." Kevin cursed under his breath. Susan remained silent for a long moment. "Show me everything," she finally said. Frank led them through the colony, past emergency medical stations where the injured were being treated, past weeping families, past sections where repair crews worked frantically to maintain air pressure. "The Saurak targeted our water and power first," Frank explained. "They weren't just attacking. They were trying to take the colony." "Why?" Kevin asked. "Mars has nothing they would want." Frank stopped walking and lowered his voice. "That's not entirely true. We found this in the possession of one of the dead Saurak commanders." He handed Susan a small data device. It contained scanning instructions. They were looking for something specific. Susan took the device to a secure room where they could examine it privately. The data was encrypted, but Earth's scientists had been studying Confederation technology for decades. They broke the encryption within minutes. "They were searching for genetic samples," Susan said, reading the translated information. "Human DNA sequences." Kevin leaned closer to read over her shoulder. "But why would they?" His face suddenly paled. "They're developing bioweapons, targeting humans specifically." Frank nodded grimly. "That's my assessment too. The Confederation claims to protect us while one of their member species prepares to eliminate us." Susan's hands tightened into fists. "And I doubt this was a rogue action. The Confederation has always seen us as a potential threat to be managed. What better management than a species-specific weapon they could deploy if we ever stepped out of line?" Kevin paced the small room. "We need to take this to the Confederation Council, demand an explanation, and show our hand?" Susan shook her head. "If we reveal that we know about this, they'll just accelerate their plans." Frank cleared his throat. "There's more. While you were en route, I received a message from Earth. The Confederation Council voted yesterday to further restrict our trading rights. They claim human merchants are disrupting market stability by outcompeting alien enterprises." Susan laughed bitterly. "Of course. We follow their rules too well, so they change the rules." She stared at the data device for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders and looked at both men. "Frank, continue the recovery and rebuilding here. Tell the Confederation observer whatever they want to hear. Kevin, return to Earth. With me immediately. It's time to call an emergency session." 24 hours later, Susan stood before the full United Earth Government Council. The chamber was packed. Representatives from every nation, colony, and major city on Earth and Mars. "For 20 years we have played by the Confederation's rules," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "We have been patient. We have been diplomatic. We have been fair." Images of the Mars colony attack played on large screens. The destruction, the dead, the wounded. This is their response. They promised protection while preparing to destroy us. They denied us the means to defend ourselves while one of their members planned an attack. They restricted our development while developing weapons against us. She paused, letting the anger in the room build. "We've been patient long enough. We've played fair while they stacked the deck. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when Deathworlders stop playing by rules designed to keep us down. The vote was unanimous. Earth formally withdrew from all Confederation agreements that same day. Defense systems that had been built in secret were activated around the solar system. Ships with capabilities beyond what should have been possible emerged from hidden bases on moons and asteroids. The Confederation, believing humans were technologically inferior and isolated, sent a pacification fleet to bring Earth back into compliance. They never expected what awaited them. Admiral Helen Ross stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Guardian, watching the holographic display with steady eyes. The Confederation pacification fleet had just entered the outer solar system, a force of 50 warships moving, with the confidence of predators who expected no real resistance. They're forming into attack groups, her second-in-command reported. Standard Confederation approach pattern. They expect us to surrender once they display their full strength. Helen nodded. She was a tall woman with dark skin and gray-streaked hair who had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. Are all our ships in position? Yes, Admiral. 30 vessels visible to their sensors, positioned exactly as our defensive capabilities would suggest. The other 70 are in stealth mode, awaiting your command. Helen studied the enemy formation. The Confederation had sent a significant force but not their best ships. They clearly expected this to be a simple show of force against a primitive species. Open a channel to Director Powell, Helen ordered. Susan Powell's face appeared on the screen. Admiral, the moment has arrived. Yes, ma'am. The Confederation fleet is approaching Neptune's orbit. Request permission to execute Operation Fair Play. Susan's face was solemn. Granted. Remember our parameters. Defend the solar system at all costs, but avoid unnecessary casualties. This isn't about revenge, it's about showing them who we really are. Helen nodded. Understood. The screen went dark. She turned to her crew. All ships, this is Admiral Ross. Operation Fair Play is a go. I repeat, Operation Fair Play is a go. Throughout the solar system, hidden Earth vessels powered up systems that should have been beyond human technology. On the Guardian, Dr. Allen Carter monitored the ship's special weapons systems. His decades of research were about to be tested in combat. Gravitational weapons online, he reported. Ready on your command, Admiral. Helen's voice was calm as she gave the order. Deploy gravitational disruptors. The first surprise for the Confederation fleet came in the form of invisible waves that bent space around their ships. Their formation began to break apart as ships were pulled in different directions. Alarms blared on their bridges as navigational systems failed. Helen watched with satisfaction. The gravitational weapons were working exactly as planned, disrupting the enemy's formation without destroying their ships. They're responding, her tactical officer announced. Energy weapons powering up. Now they see us as a real threat, Helen said. Deploy Phase 2. Earth's visible ships engaged their engines and accelerated at speeds that should have crushed their human crews. But Dr. Wu's inertial dampening technology protected them, allowing maneuvers that the Confederation had never seen from human vessels. The Guardian dived through the heart of the enemy formation, its point defense systems intercepting incoming fire while its own weapons targeted propulsion systems and weapons arrays. Around it, other Earth ships performed equally impossible maneuvers. In her command center on Earth, Colonel Patricia Morgan watched the battle through real-time feeds. Deploy the psychological measures, she ordered. Throughout the solar system, Earth's ships began broadcasting on frequencies that targeted specific Confederation species. The reptilian Sorak experienced disorientation as sounds and frequencies their inner ears were sensitive to disrupted their balance. The insectoid Vrel found their neural networks confused by precisely modulated electromagnetic pulses. This wasn't random cruelty. It was the result of 20 years of careful observation and study. Every weakness, every vulnerability that the Confederation representatives had unwittingly revealed during their visits to Earth was now being exploited. On the Confederation command ship, Admiral Kexorn struggled to understand what was happening. How are they doing this? He demanded. They shouldn't have this technology. They shouldn't know our weaknesses. His tactical officer had no answers. The humans were using principles similar to Confederation technology, but implemented in ways they had never seen before. It wasn't stolen technology. It was human innovation inspired by glimpses of what was possible. Back on the Guardian, Helen received reports from throughout the solar system. Stealth vessels reporting successful ambush operations. Enemy long-range communication has been disrupted. Their formation is breaking up. Helen nodded, her face grim. Begin final phase. Target their flagship. The Guardian and 5 other Earth vessels converged on the Confederation flagship. Their weapons weren't as powerful as the aliens, but they were more precise, targeting vulnerable points that human intelligence had identified over years of observation. The Confederation flagship's shields failed. Its weapons went offline. It drifted helplessly as Earth vessels surrounded it. Open a channel, Helen ordered. Admiral Kexorn's alien face appeared on the screen. His expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his posture showed shock. This is Admiral Helen Ross of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is surrounded. Your communications are cut off, and we have targeting solutions on all your remaining ships. Stand down immediately. Kexorn's translator device converted his clicks and whistles to English. How is this possible? You are a restricted species. You shouldn't have these capabilities. Helen allowed herself a small smile. We played by your rules for 20 years. We respected your restrictions. We never used prohibited technology. But you never restricted what we could develop on our own. She gestured to Dr. Carter, who stepped into view. This is Dr. Alan Carter. He developed our gravitational weapons based on principles we observed in your ships, but implemented with Earth science. We didn't steal your technology. We created our own path to the same results. Kexorn's appendages twitched in what might have been disbelief. Impossible. No Deathworld species has shown such restraint, such ingenuity. You never really understood humans, Helen replied. We can be patient when necessary. We can be ruthless when threatened, and we learn, constantly. You showed us glimpses of what was possible, then expected us to remain ignorant. The battle was already over. Throughout the solar system, Confederation ships were disabled or retreating. What had been planned as a simple show of force had turned into a humiliating defeat. Nearly 30% of the pacification fleet had been disabled without a single ship being destroyed. Helen turned to her communications officer. Send our message to the Confederation Council. Throughout Confederation space, on thousands of worlds, the same recording played. It showed Ambassador Lisa Wright standing before an Earth flag. We never wanted war. We wanted fair treatment. You've seen a fraction of our capabilities today. Capabilities we developed while respecting your restrictions. Imagine what we could have done if we hadn't. The solar system is now closed to Confederation vessels except by specific invitation. We await your response. As the pacification fleet limped away, Admiral Kexorn sent one final message to Earth. The Council will not tolerate this defiance. There will be consequences. Helen Ross watched the Confederation ships retreat. There already are consequences, she said quietly. Just not the ones they expected. The solar system belonged to humanity, again, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months of tense silence followed the defeat of the pacification fleet. Earth prepared for the worst. Military production increased. Colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter were hardened against attack. The asteroid belt became a network of sensors and hidden weapon platforms. Humanity expected the Confederation to return with a larger force, perhaps even the planet-killer weapons that had been used on other rebellious worlds. Instead, a single ship appeared at the edge of the solar system. It made no aggressive moves. It simply waited, broadcasting a message requesting permission to approach Earth with a diplomatic delegation. Director Susan Powell called an emergency meeting with her advisors. They gathered in the secure underground chamber where the Fair Play Initiative had been born decades ago. It could be a trick, Kevin Martinez warned. A way to get close to Earth before attacking. Colonel Patricia Morgan nodded in agreement. Their ship is small, but it could be carrying devastating weapons. Admiral Helen Ross studied the ship's specifications on her tablet. Our scans show minimal armament. If they wanted to attack, why send one small vessel? Lisa Wright, who had delivered humanity's defiant message to the galaxy, spoke up. I think we should hear them out. They've respected our new boundary. They're asking permission rather than demanding entry. That's a change from their previous attitude. Susan considered all their perspectives. She had led Earth through 20 years of secret preparation and the bold stand against Confederation dominance. Now she faced a different kind of decision. Allow them to approach, she finally ordered, but have defense systems ready. If this is a trap, we'll be prepared. The alien ship was escorted to Earth orbit by 4 human vessels. Instead of landing, they requested that the Earth delegation join them in their ship. After careful security scans, Susan agreed. Susan, Lisa, Helen, and Kevin transported to the alien vessel. They were surprised to find that the Confederation representatives were not the usual gentle world species who had always dominated the Council. Instead, they were greeted by beings from worlds more similar to Earth, planets with higher gravity, harsher climates, and more challenging conditions. Their leader stepped forward. A stocky, gray-skinned alien with features that reminded Susan of a rhinoceros. I am Ambassador Krell of the Torvac system, he announced through a translation device. I represent the Reform Coalition within the Confederation. Susan maintained a neutral expression. I am Director Powell of the United Earth Government. Why have you come? Krell gestured to comfortable seats arranged in a circle. As they sat, he explained, your stand against the pacification fleet has shaken the Confederation to its core. Many worlds are questioning the old order, particularly those of us who come from what you call Deathworlds. Kevin leaned forward. There are other Deathworld species in the Confederation? 17 known species evolved on Class 6 or higher Deathworlds, Krell confirmed. None as extreme as Earth, but all of us have faced discrimination. For centuries, the gentle world species have dominated the Council, setting policies that favor their biology and their ways of thinking. Lisa studied the alien carefully. So our rebellion inspired others? It showed what was possible, Krell said. When you defeated the pacification fleet without destroying a single ship, you demonstrated both power and restraint. It made many question the narrative that Deathworlders are dangerous savages. Admiral Ross raised an eyebrow. The Confederation has been in chaos for 6 months? Krell made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. Complete chaos. Some council members demanded your immediate destruction using planet-killer weapons. Others recognized the futility of further conflict. Many were simply terrified. He tapped a control and a holographic image appeared. The Confederation Council chamber in an uproar, different species arguing fiercely. The gentle worlds have lost their absolute control, Krell continued. Worlds like mine, the middle worlds, have formed a coalition with surprising support from some gentle world allies who recognize the injustice of the old system. Susan watched the alien carefully. What exactly are you proposing? A new agreement, Krell said. Earth would receive full membership in a reformed confederation, with guarantees of non-interference and fair treatment. In exchange, humans would share their unique problem-solving approaches and resilience. Kevin's eyes narrowed with suspicion. The same confederation that tried to keep us contained now wants to be our friend? Not the same confederation, Krell corrected. A new one, still being born. One where diversity of origin is seen as strength, not a threat. One where your voice would have equal weight. Susan exchanged glances with her team. We would need more than promises. The old confederation broke its word to protect us. We understand, Krell agreed. That is why I bring this. He handed Susan a data device. Details of the proposed reforms, including enforcement mechanisms that would prevent the abuses of the past. And something more. Information about threats from beyond Confederation space that we will all face together. Over the next several days, Earth's leaders studied the proposal. It was better than they had expected. Recognition of full sovereignty, unrestricted development rights, and equal representation on the Council. The reforms went far beyond Earth's situation, restructuring the entire Confederation to prevent any group of species from dominating others. 1 week later, Susan and her team met with Ambassador Krell again. This time, they brought a human proposal. "We accept membership in the Reformed Confederation," Susan announced, "with several conditions." Krell nodded for her to continue. "First, Earth maintains independent defense capabilities. Second, a formal apology for past actions against us. Third, reparations for the attack on Mars. And finally, investigation and punishment of those who developed bioweapons against us." Krell considered these terms. "The Reform Coalition can agree to these conditions. There is one more matter. We would like Earth to lead the new Defense Council. Your species has demonstrated both the capability and restraint needed for such a role." 1 month later, a human delegation stood before the Reformed Confederation Council. Representatives from over 500 worlds watched as Earth formally joined their ranks. The chamber was different now, reorganized so that no group held physical dominance over the others. Lisa Wright, now Earth's official ambassador, addressed the assembly. "Today marks the beginning of a true galactic community, one where diversity of origin is seen as strength, not a threat. The galaxy will never forget when Deathworlders quit playing fair, but perhaps they'll remember even more what happened after, when all our species learned to truly respect each other." As she spoke, news spread throughout Confederation space. Many worlds that had faced discrimination for their harsher environments began demanding equal treatment. The old power structure continued to crumble as a more balanced system emerged, one where humanity's practical, adaptable approach and the Confederation's vast experience complemented each other. Susan Powell watched from Earth, viewing the proceedings via holographic link. The path had been difficult and dangerous, but humanity had found its place among the stars, not by conquering the galaxy, but by forcing it to become better. The galaxy indeed never forgot, and was forever changed for the better.